We're getting away from the manual way of doing business in the city of Cleveland. We're going to go to curbside recycling, which would actually be better for the city and also for the residents too. The less that we put into the landfill will be more of a financial savings for the city, and also that's less garbage that's going into the landfill. Recycling is easy as 1, 2, 3. You bag them, you put them into the blue container, you roll it to the curb, and the truck will do the rest. We're committed to making Cleveland a cleaner, greener city of choice.
They call it the Star-Spangled Battle. It's the North against the South. It's our neighbors from up north, and I'm talking Canadians, taking on Americans, as well as individuals from Michigan, New York, Illinois. It is the King of the Ring. Hello, everybody. I'm Ronnie Duncan, along with Wilkin Santiago, a very decorated amateur back in the day here in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And Wilkin, once again, we're putting on a spectacular show, but instead of the fireworks not only being outside, there are going to be some bombs thrown inside.
Oh, definitely, man. Ecstatic, man. The last one was definitely a nice one out there. You know, these boys out here, they put in the work, man. These guys, they show their talent out here, and I'm just honored to be a part of this whole thing going on for these guys.
These are the future stars of boxing right here in Northeast Ohio. But beyond that, because they're taking on international competition and getting so prepared for the big times. Let's face it, somebody here could easily be in the Olympics. I think we know a young man who came from this program who went there not too long ago.
Oh, definitely. You know, these guys out here, man, like I said, they got natural talent. These guys put in the work day in, day out in that gym, and that's all it takes to reach the big times, man. And we got quite a few guys out there that I'm going to allow Ronnie to go ahead and touch base on these guys, where he got a little more of their pedigree. And these guys, they're ready to go out there and show what they got.
Sounds good. Bombs of the future. They're coming to you. You talk about America's independence, we've got it for you. It is a Star-Spangled Battle, and it's next. And also, you're going to be hearing from the fighters themselves, because Alexis Haywood is going to be talking to fighters just before they come into the ring, and she'll get the inside scoop. We'll find out who the winner is and who the loser. I'm Ronnie Duncan with Wilton Santiago. We'll be right back with much more of King of the Ring on TV 20, because we are Cleveland.
The Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center and law enforcement agencies from across Cuyahoga, Lake, Geauga, Ashtabula, and Lorain counties have launched iWatch, a free and anonymous way to directly report suspicious activity, tips, and leads. It's a free app you can get right on your smartphone. This app is not a replacement for calling 911 in an emergency, but this app is a crime-fighting tool. Go to iWatchNEOhio.com to find out more information on how to download this free app. A tip you give could very well save a life.
Very good evening, boxing fans, and welcome to the Firebird Athletic Field right here in Bedford, Ohio, where tonight, Production Plus Production presents the Star-Spangled Banner King of the Ring, Boxing Series number 7. Boxing fans, at this time, if you would please rise for a 10-count moment of silence to remember all of our heroes who fight for our freedom around the world. Please remain standing for the singing of the Canadian and the U.S. National Anthem.
our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, Maria Daniels. And now, boxing fans, introducing this evening's officials. They are, the president is Alex Cooper. The vice president is Ed King. The chief of officials this evening is Benjamin Rochester. The referees at ringside are Earl Jewell, Paul DeMello, Kamal Hassan, and Doug Patterson. The judges at ringside, Jamal Bowman, Isabel DeMello, Jeff Kish, Marlon Davis, and George Mills. The person in charge of the bell is Mr. Dave Winfield. In the position at ringside, as always, is the most excellent Dr. Alan Klein.
King of the Ring Boxing just outside of Cleveland, Ohio, in Bedford, Ohio, at Chanel Football Stadium, and it had the international flavor from the start. As you saw both flags being waved, the Canadian flag and the United States flag. As a matter of fact, it was the national anthem for both Canada and the United States of America. And as the flag rose, it was time for our fighters to come into the ring. Wilkins Santiago, this has been one heck of a series. You and I have been a part of King of the Ring Boxing Series right here in Cleveland, Ohio, and this is number 7. I never thought we'd see 7 so fast and so soon, but these young men are getting some valuable experience. And I must say young men and young women.
Oh, definitely, man. Excited to be back at it again, man. King of the Ring Boxing, man. They're doing a great job with these young gladiators. And, these guys are here to show what they got out here, man. And they're looking hungry. I spoke to a few of them myself, and they look like they're really at it to go out there and, put on a great performance for everyone.
Ronnie Duncan and Wilkins Santiago at the ringside right here on TV 20. Our first bout is in the 141-pound weight class. In the red corner, you've got Myron Blackman. Myron Blackman comes from the Cuddle Recreation Center in Cleveland, Ohio. He'll be taking on Amir Nelson out of Cleveland, Ohio from the Kingdom Fitness Boxing Club. Now, these are young men that you and I have seen once before in the ring, and now they get a chance to do it once again. There's something very special about it. Let's go to Paul Shield, who happens to be our ring announcer for the fight.
141-pound division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He represents the Cudell Rec Center from Cleveland, Ohio, Myron Blackman. And his opponent fights out of the blue corner. He represents the Kingdom Fitness Boxing Club, also from Cleveland, Amir Mason.
Amir Mason is no stranger to the King of the Ring boxing series. We've seen him quite a lot in the past, but this is going to be a little different because they're fighting outside. As America gets ready to start its independence celebration, we must keep in mind that there will be a star-spangled battle right here in the ring.
Exactly, man. Got two young guys here, man. Excited to see what they bring to the table today. May the best fighter win.
Amateur boxing at its very best right here in Cleveland, Ohio. We should say Bedford, Ohio. Chanel High School, the former Chanel High School, home of the Firebirds. We're at their football field, and here is round number one. Myron Blackman in the red. In the blue, you've got Amir Mason. Mason comes out of Cleveland, Ohio. Both of these boxers are very familiar with one another. Let me ask you this. Well, when you are familiar with a fighter, even though he's not in your gym, you hear a lot about what he's doing, you know what he wants to do, and you can be very familiar with him because you're both coming up through the amateur ranks in the same region.
Definitely, man. The thing is, man, you got to make sure you catch this guy's mistakes early and basically utilize his mistakes to your advantage and basically set the shots you want to set off and try to take control of the fight early.
Myron Blackman taking advantage of his lateral movement, trying to get his jab going. Both young men are taking their time as we're fighting outdoors on a football field. You know, they said Friday Night Lights. Well, it's all about the lights and the fireworks in the ring. Nice body shot that time by the young man in the blue, and that is Amir Mason. Mason has been moving forward here in round number one, but it's been the lateral movement of Myron Blackman that has gotten Blackman out of trouble when he could have been in trouble.
Mason definitely looking like the stronger fighter. Looks like he wants to put a little pressure on Blackman. Blackman's using his boxing skills right now, trying to utilize that jab and control the ring.
This is something that you normally don't see when I'm talking about amateur boxers taking their time, but you just hit on a very important point. It is quite obvious that the young man in the blue from the Kingdom Fitness Boxing Club, Amir Mason, is the stronger puncher, the stronger fighter, and you can tell every time that Blackman gets hit by him, it's recognized, and he is alerted to the fact, I've got to get out the way.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I'm seeing with Mr. Mason, mouthpiece starting to stick out his mouth. I'm not sure those are signs of a little fatigue early, but it's one thing you want to hold that mouthpiece nice inside your mouth. You don't want to let that mouthpiece snap out that mouth at any time.
That overhand right that time by Mason has been impressive. If you had to judge a first round, definitely we'd give that first round to Mason because of the way in which he looked. And it was all about his right hand, and he was pursuing. He was the more aggressive fighter in the ring. King of the Ring boxing, you've got the Teresa Pieces Round Girls. This, of course, is a 3-round fight and is amateur boxing. Of course, our referees keep our boxers at a very high profile. And why is that? Because referees want to make sure that nothing happens to the fighters while in the ring. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to hear from Earl Jewell, one of the most celebrated amateurs right here in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And he also happens to be one of our talented referees. And he'll talk about the importance of what a referee, the third man, perhaps the most important person in the ring, has to do during the fight.
Yeah, Earl Jewell's a great guy, man. I remember him doing some of my fights as well. So, I know that Earl, he's got an eye for this, and the man, his intelligence says no more.
It is King of the Ring boxing star-spangled battle, and it is happening right here at the former home of the Firebirds, Chanel High School. Marlon Blackman in the red, taking on Amir Mason in the blue. Good first round that time by, of course, Mason. But Mason is taking his time, and he just missed with that right hand.
He switched to southpaw now. Got to be kind of careful there with a great boxer like Blackman, he's trying to utilize that jab, trying to get inside, trying to catch him while he's coming in. But,
And that's what happens early in an amateur career. How many times do you actually face a left-hander, a southpaw boxer? And you have to ask yourself, am I prepared? And so he's trying to think maybe a little bit too much instead of just letting his hands go, because he's getting punches from areas he's never seen when you fight guys who are orthodox.
Exactly. I see that when he's staying in orthodox, his natural stance, his punches are becoming a lot more accurate. He's landing better shots. I've always been told to stay away from the southpaw stance.
Well, he may not be the stronger puncher, but one thing about Marlon Blackman that we have seen is that he is an excellent counter puncher, and he's trying to set up something that's going to catch the young man in the blue, Amir Mason. Round number 2 of the scheduled 3-round competition. Jab getting in that time by Blackman. Mason did return it with something. Boxing under the lights, Chanel High School, home of the Firebirds. They call it Rip Field back in the day. I remember seeing a lot of talented high school football games in this area when Chanel was a very active high school. We're in round number 2. Once again, I talked about the great counter, and that was a nice combination that time by Blackman. One thing we can say about round number 2, Blackman has picked up his activity.
Definitely.
And he's making this a very interesting fight.
Everything's coming off that jab, man. He's got a long jab. He sticks it out there pretty good, sets up all those power shots off that jab.
Coming up will be the 3rd and final round. If we look back at some of the action, of course, in round number 2, it was very evident that Blackman got some very good instructions in his corner. How important is a corner when you're talking about a fighter and you're talking about what this fighter must do and what this fighter is looking for? Because Blackman's corner gave him some excellent advice. He came out, he recognized, okay, in order for me to get anything done against a guy who switches up the southpaw, I've got to do one thing: throw more punches. Something is going to land if I move my hands.
Right, well, it's important, man. That all starts at the gym, man. From the time we step in that gym, and that relationship between you and that corner, man, that's A1. They're the ones that see it all during training camp, during sparring sessions, so they know where your weak areas are and where you got to utilize that at.
It's the 3rd and final round. 141 pounds is the weight class. If they were fighting at pro, it will be junior welterweights. 141 pounds. And Blackman is saying, hey, I'm encouraging you. Come on, because I want to counter you. He tried to counter him with that right hand. And he continues to throw that combination. Every time he's throwing a punch, he's throwing it in combination. Watch this. He gets out of the way. I'm talking about Blackman. He's the young man in the red, while the pressure is being, of course, brung on by the young man in the blue, Amir Mason. Once again, another right hand. Nice right hand to the body and 2 right hands to the head that time by Myron Blackman.
That jab is utilizing, setting up everything.
Myron Blackman has picked up the activity in this ring far more than what he did in round number 1. Maybe round 1 was an observation round for him. Instead of basically knowing exactly what he needed to do, he needed to go to his corner and get the proper instructions.
I think a lot of those power shots Mason tried to land early took a lot out of him. You could tell him slowing down a little bit in this last round.
Once again, it's been that constant pressure by the young man from Cleveland, Ohio, Amir Mason, that is, from the Kingdom Fitness Boxing Club. Oh, nice right hand that time, and referee has got to step in because both of those right hands went right up on the top of the head of Blackman. Mason is bringing it on, and the pressure is something that Blackman cannot avoid.
Got to keep those hands up. He keeps dropping their hands, and Mason's throwing some bombs out there.
Well, you talked about it earlier in the fight that Mason had the heavier hands, and you could hear the thug in his punches right here at ringside.
Stepping into his punches, I can see the key on the footwork. He's knowing how to use his feet and get inside with power shots.
You talked about fatigue. I haven't seen much fatigue. Mason knew exactly how to exert his energy, and he made sure he put his energy out in spurts. Nice body shot, and Mason is putting it on. And that was 3 rounds of fights, and it was a good fight. 3 rounds of battle. King of the Ring Boxing Series And, of course, Doug Patterson is the man who has put it all together. We're going to hear from Doug a little bit later in our broadcast. Doug will talk about the mere fact that these fighters are doing something that a lot of amateur boxing tournaments don't do. And he wants to give them a pro atmosphere. Doug will talk more about that, the King of the Ring boxing series. We'll also showcase some of the big-time trophies that are going to be given out. I have to tell you, man, that's some nice-looking hardware over there.
Wish those were around when I was around.
Hey, you get a chance to fight for something a little bit more than what it is. And it's a good time. We're going to find out exactly who the winner of the fight is, and in my opinion, it is that blue corner. It is Amir Mason of the Kingdoms Fitness Boxing Club. Kingdoms Fitness Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio. He seemed to be the far more aggressive fighter. Had a lot going on in round number 1 and came back and was even more impressive in the third and final round.
Landed the heavier shots. Looked like he wanted it more. You can tell that at that gym he knew when to put in the work, when to attack, and he was successful in the last round.
Well, of course, the referee is bringing the fighters together. Let's go up to Paul Schill, who is our ring announcer, to find out who is the winner of our first bout of the evening. And, of course, during the King of the Ring boxing series, we always have a sponsor for, of course, our fights, and they come with a trophy, and they also come with a plaque. And so you got a ribbon, a trophy, and a plaque that are given to the winner as well as the loser.
Boxing fans here to present the winner, Rhonda Kinsman, or the Rhonda of the Kinsman Daz Band. Boxing fans, there's a 3 action-packed rounds. Your winner, he fights out of the blue corner, Amir Mason.
So there you have it. Amir Mason, of course, is your winner, 141 pounds. What did you like about Amir Mason?
Well, he put the shots together. He sat down on his shots, used great angles in there, picked everything off that jab, and once he got inside, he made sure he put the punches in the right place at the right time.
You know what? He did it, and he did it with a great tempo. And but there was one thing you were concerned about. You were concerned about whether or not he had the energy. You said his mouth was wide open. He seemed to know exactly what pace he should be going at. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of spoke too early. We definitely came out that last round and put it all together, man. It goes to show that he knew what he was doing. Got in there. These guys are a step close to the pro game, so basically you're at that level right now where you got to make changes. You got to know when to execute, when to put the pedal down on the gas. He did what he had to do, and he got the victory.
All right, you talk about getting the victory. There's always a third man in the ring. And, of course, our next fight coming up, our third man in the ring, will be referee Earl Jewell. We spoke with referee Earl Jewell a little bit earlier today. Of course, Alexis Haywood did that conversation. And let's go to Alexis and find out what it is a fighter must do and how they must obey a referee and what a referee's job is in the ring.
Thanks, Ronnie. I'm here with legendary referee Earl Jewell. What is the most important aspect in keeping these fighters safe?
Well, we make sure that they adhere to the rules and regulations of the boxing, and we make sure that if he get knocked down, we give him an 8 count, and check and see if they're all right before we send them back out. The number one rule in amateur boxing is the safety of the boxers. So if they are woozy, they can't see straight and stuff like that, a lot of times we'll stop the fight too. So that's really the reason.
Are you going to keep these guys safe tonight?
Oh yes, we're going to keep them safe. We're going to keep everything clean and let the best boxer win.
Thank you so much. Back to you, Ronnie.
Well, thanks a lot, Alexis. We appreciate that interview. You know, you get a lot of insight when you hear from a referee. And so many times we hear from the fighters, we hear from the trainers, but we never hear from the referee. And I like the fact that Earl Jewell says safety comes first. This is amateur boxing. It is the purest and it is the best boxing because the fighter's safety comes first.
Definitely. You got 2 guys in there who are young still, man, trying to make it to the pro ranks. And you got to make sure safety is number 1, first and foremost. Earl Jewell's a great guy. Like I said, I remember him from the amateur days, and safety was number 1 when it came to Earl.
All right, now it's time for our very next fight, and that will come in the 152-pound weight class. It was Kayvon McKay. Kayvon McKay is in the red corner. He has on the all blue. He comes to us out of Dayton, Ohio. He'll be taking on Cody Orosky, out of the Scott Neal Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio. The last time that I saw Cody Orosky did something extremely impressive. He fought a young man who not only had won the King of the Ring before, but was one of the best light heavyweights in this area. What he did is that he continued to apply the pressure. And by doing so, he outworked his opponent and came through with one heck of a victory, and that is Cody Orosky. And this is a young man who can fight.
Well, that's one of them things about in amateurs, man. You got to go in there and you got to let your punches go. It's all about a point system. You know, if you can get the guy out of there, get the guy out of there, but it's all based around the point system. So you got to get out there and just make sure you steady, keeping the hands going, showing those judges that you're the one that's coming for that win.
A lot of amateur fighters fight for one reason, and that is perhaps prepare themselves for the Olympics. This is an international competition. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Let's get ready for our next bout. Of course, Paul Schill has out two fighters, and he'll introduce them to us.
Okay, boxing fans, here we are. Our next evening is in the 152-pound division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, representing the Gem City Boxing Club from Dayton, Ohio, he is Kayvon McKay. And his opponent fights out of the blue corner, represents the Old Angle Boxing Club. Please welcome from Cleveland, Cody Orosky.
There you got it, Cody Orosky, the young man who I've seen fight as high as 170. I've seen him at 160. Today he's at 152 pounds. He's lost weight. He's in better shape, but I can tell you one thing about Cody. Cody comes and he brings it. He's in the blue corner. He's coming out, of course, in a red and white uniform, taking on the young man in the blue, Kayvon McKay, out of Dayton, Ohio, out of the Gem City Boxing Gym.
Goes to show this guy, he's got discipline, man. To come down 2-3 weight classes, goes to show you he's been putting in that work at the gym.
It's going to be interesting to see if he can still hold on to that power. He may not be the fastest fighter out there, but he is disciplined from a standpoint that he will continue to come forward. And he has been running into a buzzsaw at that time by McKay. McKay messing him up there with the combination and with the jab.
Well, he's fighting a southpaw, so he's got to know how to get inside with a southpaw.
And of course, the best way to get inside that southpaw is a straight right hand. And that's what Cody has been doing. He's been moving with that straight right hand during this fight.
Right hand, left hook. And now he's starting to move his head a little more, so he's trying to get inside. You can tell he's trying to...
That's the great thing about amateur boxing. You get a chance to see different styles. You go up against southpaws. You may not be as successful, but it still becomes a learning lesson.
Definitely. Boys looking sharp. Boxing very well. A lot of movement.
Once again, it's about that pressure by Cody Orosky. And he continues to step forward. He does not relent. And he will take those punches.
They say pressure busts pipes.
They say pressure busts pipes. I like that analogy. It is the King of the Ring Boxing Series, coming to you from Bedford, Ohio. Firebird. It's a little different. It's boxing on the outside. Fireworks in the ring. And these guys are trying to lighten it up. Earl Jewell, of course, with a warning to keep those punches up, and that was, of course, a straight left hand that got Cody, and Cody felt it too. Round number one, very interesting round, but if you had to give it to someone, you have to give it to McKay. McKay was a more dominant fighter. His combination fighting became the key to it all.
I think he starts off that jab, man. That's southpaw. That's something you got to learn how to get inside of southpaw, man. You got to stay away from that left hand. You got to circle around his left side and try to set up your combinations. Use angles, beat that body. One thing I've always learned as a fighter, man, get inside, start ripping that body, slow them legs down early.
How difficult is it, though? I mean, it's easy for us to say,
right,
but you being the more seasoned fighter on this broadcast, a guy who has a great amateur pedigree, professional pedigree, what was it like anytime you had to go up against someone who was that left-hander? And what did you do and how were you successful?
Oh, you just had to make adjustments, man. Great fighters make adjustments, and I just listened to my team, told them to listen to all the pointers they gave me, and try to utilize them. And after during the sparring sessions or fights and stuff like that, everything came along at the proper time.
Cody is jabbing more to get inside, and every time he's moving inside, he's trying to touch him. And we're going to find out whether McKay can take a punch.
Cody keeps his chin up too high. Gets caught with a lot of uppercuts.
How effective would a left hook be right now for Cody?
That's the punch on the southpaw. Straight right hand and left hook. You want to try to get him off his balance first and foremost, and then
because there's a comfort level for a southpaw. They recognize that you are a conventional fighter. You haven't fought someone who's coming to you from that angle before. You know, the right hand is not the power punch. The left hand is the power punch.
Right hand, left hand. He's starting to come out, put a little pressure. But as you can see, McDay, he's utilizing that jab and movement.
Once again, it isn't pretty when Cody gets in the ring, but you have to admire his intestinal fortitude to continue to move forward.
Definitely, he has heart, man. Shows the heart of a champion in there.
So this young man one time fight 3 fights in 3 nights. To lose a fight, come in a championship fight and win that one.
Yeah.
Simply amazing. Nice body shot that time by Cody.
Follow with the left hook.
He's got to put a little bit more on that left hook than he's been putting on it, though. Make it short, make it compact. Nice right uppercut that time.
Yeah. Throwing nice body shots, coming upstairs with hooks.
But can he continue to take this punishment because the faster and the swifter hands are coming from McKay?
Yep. Tight round here. Tight round. Nice right hand, nice left hook.
It's a matter of whether or not in the 3rd round McKay is going to have the energy to continue this type of performance against Cody, because Cody continues to come forward. And as you notice, even though in the first beginning we saw him get counterpunched, get hit from the angles, the southpaw was a slicker fighter, the better fighter. But as the fight continues to go on, Cody is also in there to get his licks.
Yep, definitely. This is it. This is the round right here where it shows who takes this fight. Both guys are coming out here doing what they have to do. The better fighter comes out on top. Definitely McDay's showing some great boxing styling out there. A lot of movement, using his angles. The key is, let's see what he brings this 3rd round.
We'll see exactly what's happening. We've got some very talented fighters from Canada who will be fighting for the King of the Ring boxing series. Boxing series number 7. Wow. Getting ready for the 3rd and final round. Referee Earl Jewell wants to make sure that the stool is out, the water bucket is out in the red corner, and once that happens, he'll command these boxers to go at it again. 3rd and final round, 152-pound weight class. Cody Orhowski taking on Kayvon McKay. Referee Earl Jewell stops the fight for just a minute. And that was a very peculiar situation that you saw there. What happened?
I guess his headgear was covering his eyes. It's happened to me a few times. Mine was never stopped, but
yeah, it's very unusual that you see that happen. But of course, it goes back and talking about the safety of the fighter. Straight right hand that time.
He got caught with the left hand as well. They both exchanged power shots. Key to winning this fight is who's going to come out more aggressive right now.
Would you advise McKay to stand in the middle and fight with Cody?
Nah, he's got great boxing skills.
And that's exactly what he's tried to do. And as you can tell, he's starting to get a little tired. Yeah. And Cody continues to go. So this is a war of attrition.
He's ducking and weaving with his head down, not even looking at what punches are coming at him. Those are bad signs there.
They said pressure breaks pipes. Does Cody have the pressure to get on McKay? We'll see. continue to hold and hit. It's a matter of who wants to throw the punches in bunches. It's a matter of whether Cody can just put on that steam and throw up that left hook.
Nice left hand.
Nice left hand that time. You're absolutely right by McKay.
Oh,
nice uppercut by Cody. Cody's just got to throw more punches.
Be careful with those jabs. Those jabs are scoring points.
He has to throw with caution to the wind.
Oh, nice uppercut again.
And that uppercut was right on the chin and on the neck as well. Oh, he just hit him with a nice left hook. I tell you what, Cody may lose this fight, but I have become a fan because of the effort. And his effort is just so intense. He's not the prettiest fighter out there. He's not the quickest fighter out there. He's not the most athletic fighter, but he does what he does well, and he just continues to box.
Nice close by McDay.
Good fight. I mean, you got to give it to McDay. McDay's fight, Kevon McDay was the winner of this fight, in my opinion. He was the more active fighter, got more done. But you've got to give credit where credit is due. Cody didn't run out of gas. He just ran out of rounds.
Exactly.
Fighters doing their thing right here at the King of the Ring Boxing. And if you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, are these fights outside? Yes, they are. And for a fighter who's fought outside, it's different. You can run outside. You can shadow box outside. Very rarely do you have fighters who fight outside in the open elements. If you have Wilkins, what was it like? What was the adjustment? And are you concerned about breathing?
Oh, definitely. Well, actually, I fought in California with a high altitude out there. You know, the breathing is definitely tough. But you being a fighter, you know what you got to do, man. You got to suck it up, and you got to put all the work you put in that gym, man. You don't think about those things. You just got to adjust to the element of life, man, and continue to, reach for that victory.
The sun comes up and the moon goes down, and a new day is on its way. The stars in the skies are waving goodbye. And when they knock you out, it's good night, Irene.
Exactly.
It's all about boxing. It's King of the Ring. Ronnie Duncan and Wilkins Santiago with you at ringside, bringing you the action. These are future stars. A young man from Dayton, Ohio, from the Gem City Boxing Club, looks to be the winner. We'll find out if it is his time. I'm talking about the one Kevon McDay.
Hey, boxing fans, outstanding Golden Glove boxing action. Please put your hands together for these two outstanding athletes. While we're waiting for the decision, if you enjoyed watching this bout between these two gentlemen, both of these gentlemen are recent Golden Glove champions. So if you've not seen Golden Glove boxing before, this is an example of what you would see. Boxing fans, your winner. Fights out of the red corner, Kevon McDay.
Kevon McDay. And you got to like the mere fact that his attitude was, I'm going to kneel and pray on this. I'm not sure. I left it in the hands of the judges. I felt like I put in my best effort, and that's exactly what he did. He gave us some effort, and he gave us a good fight.
Well, he knew that he came out strong the first round. Second round, he laid back a little bit. Third round, he knew he had to go in there and leave it all in there, man. You can't take nobody lightly. He knew that this kid was coming to fight this last round, so he knew that he had to put his punches together.
Well, he put his fight together, and he did it quite well. It is King of the Ring Boxing. It is the Star Spangled Battle. And, of course, we all know about the Star Spangled Banner, written by Francis Scott Key. We know the words. Oh, say can you see by the dawn early light, America the beautiful. So, of course, America celebrates its independence all throughout the month of July. Of course, July the 4th is when the independence has been celebrated. We are a nation of one, and we are American. We love this nation for all that it represents, good and kind. The sun is out, but of course the stars will start to come out, and some folks will see some stars tonight by the way they get hit. Okay, so of course it's going to be lights out, and as we continue to move up the ladder, we're going to be moving to our next fight. And of course, you're talking about talent. You talk about individuals coming from a hard-working city. How about Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh is one of those hard-working cities. And Paul Palumbo is going to be in the red corner out of the Worldwide Boxing Club out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's going to be taking on Cato Montgomery. And we're very familiar with Cato Montgomery.
Yeah.
A young man who has been in King of the Ring, and Cato's got some talent.
Oh, he's got some talent. This boy he comes to scrap. He comes to scrap. So we're going to be seeing we're going to be hearing some heavy shots in there from Cato, and I expect him to bring out his best in here today.
I'll tell you what, his best is extremely good. Cato Montgomery out of the Bob Davis Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio. But he's taking on a young man who is rough and rugged out of the Steel City. And of course, our ring announcer is the one and only Paul Schill, who's standing by, and he's going to tell us officially who our two big-time boxers are for our 178-pound light heavyweight competition between Palumbo and Montgomery.
Okay, boxing fans, here we go. Our next bout of the evening is 178-pound division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He represents the Worldwide Boxing Club from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Paul Palumbo. And his opponent fights out of the blue corner and represents the Bob Davis Boxing Club from Cleveland, Ohio, Cato Montgomery.
There you have Cato Montgomery. You see him, of course, in the red and black trunks, the white T-shirt, taking on the young man from the Steel City, Mr. Paul Palumbo. Palumbo in the black and white. Bringing that steel of pride, another southpaw. Palumbo reminds me of like a little Jake LaMotta, miniature size. Ready to do a little bit of work, but he's up against Cato Montgomery from Cleveland, Ohio. Now, how much does the Pittsburgh-Cleveland rivalry play a part in a fight like this? Be honest.
Goes way back, man. Speaking about Pittsburgh, I was in Kent with Paul Spatafor, great buddy of mine, man. Got some excellent sparring out with him out in Pittsburgh, man. Showed me a lot of love out there. But them Pittsburgh boys, they come to fight, especially with Cleveland guys.
I remember being over in Pittsburgh, and somebody just said they were from Ohio, and they got the biggest boos. Maybe we do a little bit better here in Ohio. We give them the benefit of the doubt.
I fought one of their champions, and I got booed the whole way, except in the decision at the end.
Cato Montgomery moving in with that jab.
Heavy shots by these guys, heavy shots.
I tell you what, Palumbo may not look to be the classier fighter, but I like how he rolls with his punches and then at the same time shoots that right hand out. And that left.
He's trying to get inside. He's got to get inside. He's got to start beating that body down. You want to slow that up down. Some gravity going in there.
A lot of holding going on in this fight. Trying to do a little version of the shoulder roll a little bit, isn't
it? You see that? You catch that, huh?
Palumbo putting in some work here. One.
He was trying to set that big right hand up.
And he's trying to counter, too, out of clinches. I like what I'm seeing from Palumbo, but the one thing about it is that when you talk about technique, and you can tell the experience, you can see more of that in Cato Montgomery. He's been to these waters before. You can tell on how he's riding with the punches and how he's going to the body. And what you see with Palumbo is that Palumbo's looking for the one big shot, and hopefully he can do something. And that's not going to get him as far as an amateur nor as a pro.
Cato got to start banging that body. Stop head hunting. Got to slow this guy down. As you can tell, this guy keeps grabbing and holding. Obviously, he doesn't want Cato to land.
We don't want Cato to land, but Cato wants to be active. But the thing about it is that what you have to admire about Palumbo is that when he gets you in that corner, he's looking for that right hand. He's looking for that one punch that he can. There it is. And that's what I'm saying, straight down the middle. And that's what Palumbo wants to do. Palumbo wants to counter with a very hard shot. And Palumbo's whole thing is that if I can rock you once, I can finish you. I know we got a lot of casinos here in the Cleveland area, but I don't know if that's a gamble I'll take the odds on.
Nice right hand on Cato.
That's the bell for the end of round number 1.
Entire first round, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking right now that if I'm Palumbo, I want to be in a situation where I'm feinting, where I'm moving back and forth, and I'm giving a lot of hit movement. And with that hit movement is that I'm dipping, but I'm also coming over punches. So at the same time you see me moving, I want to go ahead and send a message to you that there could be a punch coming from either direction, and that's something that he has to be prepared for.
You gotta start using a lot of more feints upstairs and try to get in Cato's head and get him confused. Get him to throw shots where they're not gonna land, and just execute off of those shots.
If you're in the corner of Palumbo, what do you tell him right now?
You gotta start moving, keep coming forward. You gotta try to get this guy tired. Get him tired and then start landing those heavy shots. Palumbo's got some heavy shots.
Is boxing more about luck, or is boxing about skill? And that's something that we have to consider.
Boxing's about putting in that work, man. Putting in that work, it all shows on fight night.
Someone told me once before, Mac Lewis, an old boxing trainer out of Baltimore, Maryland, boxing is both. It is luck, it is skill. And as Floyd Mayweather says, skills pay the bills. Got to ask you why I got you here. Some interesting fights are coming up. You know I do this all the time on our broadcast. So let's go with an event. Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. Who do you pick? And why?
I knew that was coming up today. For some reason, I knew that was going to pop up. I mean, like Floyd says, they pay the bill, man. Floyd's a different animal in there, man. We're talking about a guy with ring IQ like no other. I've actually trained at the Floyd Mayweather gym. Did some great sparring with Sean Porter there. Floyd, his work ethic, the man, he talks, but he does the walk.
I hear you.
That's what matters, man.
Getting back on this fight for just a second, Earl Jewell took a point off for holding. Too much holding by Palumbo. We talked about that a little bit earlier, and that, of course, is a concern. Now we're talking about something that's going to happen September 16th. It is Triple G against the one and only Canelo Alvarez.
Cinnamon, huh?
Who do you like?
Tough fight, man.
I told you Daniel Jacobs was going to expose him, but you didn't want to listen to me. I remember I told you about that one.
I got to roll with Canelo on this one, man.
Canelo?
Yeah, I got to roll with Canelo, man. The only guy that's ever gave Canelo trouble, we all know, is Money May. Other than that, Canelo's exposed everyone else. The boy's strong. He's strong. He definitely could take a punch. And with Triple G, all you got to worry about is taking his shot. If you can take his shot, I believe Canelo is going to outwork him.
And finally, by the time this airs, you will either be like the Notre Dame of boxing. It is, of course, July 29th. Two very exciting fighters, one undefeated, one a four-time champion, another a three-time champion. Mikey Garcia against Adrian Broner.
What they fight at, 47?
140.
Oh, Garcia's a tough guy, man. AB with all that hollering, he better come through.
I tell you, one thing we do know is that if anybody is winning this fight right now, and it's Cato Montgomery. He's been putting up one heck of an effort, and I'm not trying to be discouraged by what he's doing.
Smart.
I mean, he's been putting in the jab, he's been putting in the combinations. Cato Montgomery there in the red and black striped trunks with the white T-shirt.
He's boxing smart. He's not using unnecessary energy that he has to. He's sitting on his shots, making them count. And that's what amateur boxing is about.
You still haven't given me a winner, and I'll make it easy for you.
Garcia,
if you want to do it in Spanish, I'll take it, and I guarantee I know who you're going to say won. So go ahead and tell me who wins this fight in Spanish.
Canelo.
No. Garcia and Broner.
Oh, Garcia and Broner?
Give it to me in Spanish.
Yo voy por Adrian Broner.
Sí.
Adrian Broner. Tengo de ir con Adrian Broner. If you don't understand that, I just said I got to roll with Adrian Broner.
All right. I'm going to speak to you in English.
Go ahead.
Mikey
Oh,
Garcia.
you go with Garcia?
Mikey.
I don't know.
Not Mikey Mouse, but Mikey Garcia.
I think AB, after he got exposed by Sean, I think he cleaned his act up a little bit, and he knows what he's got to do. He's going in there with a guy that's going to come out there and just let him go, but AB's a smart fighter, man. Just try not to be Floyd, because you ain't Floyd.
I hear that. Third and final round. Let's concentrate on this fight. It's been one dominated by the young man in the white top and the red and black trunks, Cato Montgomery. And Cato has been moving with that jab and, of course, getting his business done. He's going upstairs. He's going downstairs, taking on Paul Palumbo.
Nice left hand. Nice body shots.
Once again, those body shots have been so important. But then again, it was that strong punch. And that's what we're talking about, that lucky shot that Palumbo continued to go for each and every time. Palumbo is not giving up. I saw it early in the first round, and of course, we're seeing it now.
Drop right up under there. Work that body.
He's breathing heavy out there.
Once again,
that
left hand by Palumbo. Palumbo has been putting some work in, and you got to give credit where credit is due.
To the body, man. Your hand right there. Move the hand side to side.
This is when you get to that third round, and Paul Palumbo is still throwing at the same volume that he threw before. Who does he remind you of? Maybe more like a Lemieux kind of a situation where if you don't watch him because he's short, he's compact, and he throws that short, compact punch.
Heavy shots, too. He's throwing heavy shots in there.
And his corner's talking about the one thing that Palumbo has. He has heavy hands.
You can hear Cato's corner out there telling him to set that body shot up, but it's going to the head. The boy number body shots, those are the ones that slow you down.
Is Palumbo fighting a tremendous advantage because of the simple fact someone lost their mouthpiece? I think it was Cato Montgomery. Or was it? No, it was Palumbo. That's Palumbo's mouthpiece that came out. Yes, that's Palumbo's mouthpiece. He's taking that gas, and of course the corner's going to wash that mouthpiece out. Boxer safety comes first. Look at him holding on to the ring.
Yeah, signs of time.
But I tell you what, look on the other side, the neutral corner.
Yeah, they both hanging hard.
Cato Montgomery says a little tired out here too. It's a different fighting outside, man. It really is.
Definitely.
Sucking in that oxygen. All that free air. What I was alluding to, does Palumbo have a disadvantage because of his size?
No, I never underestimate any guy that steps foot in this ring, man. You gotta respect any man that steps foot in this ring.
Absolutely.
We're all gladiators, man. Like I said, the best man wins is the man that's putting all that work in at that gym, man.
Work at the gym is so important. It's been about Cato. Straight right hand down the pike. He tried to lead with the right hand. Palumbo was able to get under it. But once again, it's the accumulation of punches that have taken.
He's wide open. He's gasping for air. You got to be careful if that mouthpiece not flying again. They'll take a point.
Come on, work.
They're holding. They're fatigued right now.
Well, both of them are tired.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. Right there. You go. Come on. Don't let
And Palumbo is trying with that tired counter. And just hoping that
They're both tired.
that lucky shot could be it. That is the best sound both of those fighters heard at the end of the round.
Yeah, they were waiting on that.
3 rounds of boxing here. Chanel High School. Oh,
What do you think? What are you thinking?
For this fight?
Yeah.
It's pretty academic to me. Cato Montgomery. More of the active fighter. Looked like the better fighter in the ring. Had the better skills, outworked the fighter, and was in good shape. We'll find out. Once again, we continue to have different sponsors who have come in to let us know exactly who the winner of the fights are and will be. Amateur boxing at its best. It is the King of the Ring boxing series. And of course, it's a little bit later. We're going to get the Canadian flavor in this. Now for USA against Canada, North versus South. And that's what it's all about, getting that international competition. And when you talk to some of these Canadian fighters, they tell you they've had such a joy of fighting in America, but they've had more experience of fighting in the outside, where a lot of these American fighters, and the kids from Cleveland, Michigan, Illinois, New York, have not, Pennsylvania, have never fought outside. And they haven't had that luxury of fighting outside.
Boxing is starting to grow, man, so you want to expand internationally wise and try to get the best experience you can out there before you do make an adjustment to turn pro.
Sounds good. Let's go up to Paul Schills, who has, of course, the winner of our next competition. It might be somewhat academic. My man Cato is looking, flexing his muscles, but I know he's tired. Just like Paul. Both of them tired. They want to get this over with as soon as possible. Let's go up to Paul to find out who's the winner.
Boxing fans, after 3 action-packed rounds of boxing, your winner fights out of the blue corner, Cato Montgomery.
That's right, Cato Montgomery, the winner, as we thought. Curtis Wilson from the U.S. Army is here to present the winner of the trophy, of course, to the fight. You know what? That's the great thing about amateur boxing, and you and I remember. We never got the money, but we got that trophy. And that hardware is so important. We had an opportunity to talk, of course, to the man who basically has put all of this together. He is the one and only Doug Patterson. And we talked about the hardware. I'm talking about the trophies that are being given out tonight. And he talked about why he decided to come up with King of the Ring. He talked with our very own Alexis Haywood. And here's the interview. Alexis?
I'm here with Doug Patterson. He started it all. Doug, what do you expect some of the boxers to get out of your program?
You know, King of the Ring was created to give experience on a pro level to our up-and-coming boxers. So we're King of the Ring Boxing is the farm team of the pros. Once they come from us and get the experience they got right there, they can move up and be our future champions.
Great. And what exactly inspired you to create the whole program in itself?
Well, Alexis, I'm a boxing referee, and I see all these children as they come up don't get the experience, and when they get into international competitions, we're having problems with that because they don't have the experience of the competitions. So now, when they box for King of the Ring Boxing, they're going to have some competition.
Okay, you heard it here. We have all the competition. Back to you, Ronnie.
Well, thanks a lot, Alexis. We appreciate that. And as you can see, the different trophies. And I tell you what, they put on a heck of a show. You saw the hardware, and we're looking at the trophies right now. If you could have won one of these trophies as an amateur boxer, I don't know about you, bro. I'll be fighting real hard for one of those.
Definitely, man. The trophies look nice, man. I wish they had those when I was around. We had some little stuff. Those look sharp, though, man. Good stuff by Doug Patterson, man. Big shout out to Doug, man, for putting all this together. Great guy, man. Been around for a long time. Highly respected in the boxing game.
All right, coming up, we've got, of course, some featherweights, and I'm talking about some young men who cover that 123-pound, 130-pound weight class. I'm talking about guys who, when they throw punches, they throw them in bunches and they fly. And when you talk about guys who throw punches at a magnitude like that or high volume, you know what you're getting, don't you?
Oh, definitely. You better know what you're getting because you got to get in there. You got to put that work in. These guys, they're throwing punches at high volume, so you got to stay on your toes, man, and let those shots ring.
What do you think is the best exercise for a boxer in the gym to work on for his or her ability to be able to throw a lot of punches? What would you say is the best exercise?
As far as for punch space, as far as
punch endurance, punch spacing, the mere fact that you don't want to become fatigued, you want to be able to throw. I mean, is it a 3-minute drill that you work on or a 4-minute drill of continually throwing punches? I mean, what do you do?
Well, I was big on wearing heavy weights or heavy gloves when I threw shots. I know that if I can keep a punch pace at a certain level with heavier gloves than what I did on fight night, I know that my punch pace when I did fight was going to be at a whole higher rate. So, I believe incorporating a little bit of that into your boxing regimen definitely helps excel those punches and throw a lot more punches during fights.
Well, up next here on TV 20, King of the Ring Boxing Series, and of course the sun is going down, and that means the lights are going to be turned on, and it also means the highlights are going to even get better. Coming up next, we've got two guys from the same gym. Tommy Robinson taking on Frank Brown, and they're both from the Scott Neal Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio. difficulty in a situation like that when you're from the same gym, you work out together, and now you're not sparring, you're in a real fight.
Right.
Somebody's going to get a W in their passport.
I've never been through that, man. But it's got to be an awkward feeling. But at the end of the day, man, you know, even though you're from the same gym, you know each other. Everything gets left outside the ring. Come fight night.
123 pounders. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, you're talking about two guys from the same gym. I know you. I know what you do. I know whether you train, whether you don't train. I know what you've been working on. And of course, let's go up to our ring announcer.
23-pound division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He represents the Motown Boxing Club from Detroit, Michigan, Tommy Robinson. And his opponent fights out of the blue corner and represents the Scott Neal Boxing Club. Please welcome from Cleveland, Frank Brown.
Okay, so my mistake, and we got one from Detroit and one from Cleveland, so they don't know one another. But I tell you what, after 3 rounds, or after some knocking up the heads, we're going to find out who knows who.
Right.
Once again, that's my mistake. We got Tommy Robinson out of Detroit, Michigan, out of the Motown Boxing Gym, taking on Frank Brown out of the Scott Neal Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio. Frank Brown in the all red with the black trumps trimmed in red and white is, of course, from Detroit, Michigan, Tommy Robinson in the red corner. Once again, we're talking about getting that punch out quick.
123, you see the hand speed.
One thing I also noticed about the hand speed is that Frank Brown can't be a stationary target and just stand there because, let's face it, Robinson is moving. And Robinson is putting that jab out there very fast, laser-like jab.
He's moving.
Trying to follow, of course.
He's just not head on it. He's putting the jab to the body as well. He's trying to set up that big left hand.
That big left hand coming, of course, from that southpaw.
Nice body shot. Nice shots.
Tommy Robinson, of course, feinted with his punch. Frank Brown in the all red out of Cleveland, Ohio. And of course, that lead jab is so important sometimes when you're taking on that southpaw. And of course, we got the young man from Cleveland, Ohio, Frank Brown, trying to get a lot of activity to the body.
Nice right hand.
Nice right hand going upstairs and downstairs. Tommy Robinson stepping around him.
Looking good.
Slapping left hand.
Boxing nice. Nice hooks.
Nice right hook.
Nice. Started it with the right uppercut. Get inside with that left.
What I love about Robinson right now is that he is putting his punches together so well because you can see where he's going to the body and then he comes back to the head. Very active, extremely active.
He's working his feet good. He's putting his shots, he's setting his feet in position for the right shot.
Birthday. Lamara is a former pro fighter, and she is the president of Defend You, Defend Me anti-bullying events, which is held very often.
Tommy Robinson
heads up that program,
of the Motown Boxing Club in Detroit, Michigan, taking on Frank Brown of the Scott Neal Boxing Club in Cleveland.
Also, boxing fans, we have for sale, we have shirts.
It's been a very interesting first round because it seems like as far as skill level is concerned, Wilkins, that they're both on the same level. And I think that is what is making this fight very interesting because it was a first round in which I could say that there may have been a distinct advantage going to Tommy Robinson, but you know by no stretch of the imagination that Frank Brown is out of this fight.
Oh, no, definitely not. I won't call no fighter out of a fight.
No, but I'm talking about as far as skill was concerned.
Oh, skill, yeah.
A matter of volume punches, a matter of punches being connected. Perhaps who was the more impressive in round one? I'd have to give that to Tommy Robinson. Definitely. But on the flip side, it's quite evident Frank Brown can fight.
Yeah, definitely. You just got to figure out that southpaw stance.
Tommy Robinson getting him a lot of different looks, stomping of the foot and the back foot.
Definitely using his feet.
And he knows how to fight. He knows how to come out of a combination situation and move.
Great shots. Both fighters throwing nice heavy shots in there. Both looking sharp.
What you got to like about Robinson is that he doesn't mind fighting in the booth, even in the middle of the ring. If this is the will of attrition, Tommy Robinson is letting you know he's got some skills, and look at him. He's a little cutie pie out there. He doesn't mind letting you know that if it comes time to go ahead and put the work in, he's going to do so. But he better watch himself. Once again, nice little left hook that time by Frank Brown. Frank Brown in the all red out of Cleveland, Ohio, taking on Tommy Robinson out of Detroit. We talked about that Pittsburgh-Cleveland rivalry. Detroit-Cleveland rivalry is pretty tough too.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that Frank Brown cannot do is walk a man down without throwing a punch. He's got to jab his way in.
You can tell Tommy Robinson slowing down big time. Nice hook, though. Uppercut hook, nice hook.
Now see how Brown comes in?
Real wide with that uppercut.
Brown comes in with, look, Brown is coming in and just coming in, but not trying to throw punches. And I'm talking about a jab. A jab would be extremely effective for him. But Frank continues to bang to the body. Frank is getting him some work. He just had, of course, a right hook, another left hand, a right hand up top, and this time I think he may have hurt Brown. Robinson and Brown are going at it. Robinson, I believe, was hurt there in round number 2.
Nice right hand he caught him with.
Maybe that's what it's all about, fighting in close quarters. And in close quarters, he says, guess what, I can be the man. What was that again, Wilkins?
Breathing heavy over there, you can see. The volume of punches these guys are throwing at these guys they're giving it their best right there.
Trying to get that work in. It was interesting how this fight changed from round 1 to round 2. And round 3, I think, is really going to be the telling story of this fight.
Yep, this is it. Round 3 shows which man wants it, which man is hungry in there.
Once again, this is the third and final round of this competition, and we're talking about two very talented fighters. Tommy Robinson out of Detroit, Michigan, taking on Frank Brown out of the Scott Neal Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio. Got to keep that mouthpiece in, and of course, making sure that that hand is taped properly. And once everything is done, this is the well-needed rest both of these fighters may have needed. But Frank Brown was coming on, and I want to see if Frank Brown is going to continue that pressure. If he can jab his way in, and then all of a sudden it becomes a whole different fight. That kind of pressure that he can put, of course, on Robinson. And that pressure is starting to build. But Robinson just hit him with a left hook that came out of nowhere, followed by a right hand. Robinson underneath with a left uppercut. And he's pushing him off, but the pressure continues to try to bust the pipes. And a right hand straight down the middle, another straight right hand down the middle. Could Frank Brown be bringing it on late in the round? Frank Brown, of course, here in round number 3.
They both know this round's important. This is the round.
Frank Brown is moving his hands. And one thing we can say is that Robinson has been living up against the ropes, and the referee is going to have to take a quick look at this one because these fights and punches are coming in clean.
Heavy shots by these guys.
Heavy shots. Frank Brown continues to bring it on. He may have started off slow, but he's ending this fight with speed and ferocity.
Not sure if you caught him switching to southpaw. Good thing that he changed right away. Right now, this fight's too tight to try to take that chance and switch into a southpaw stance. That's dangerous.
He has been scoring a lot of big body blows, a lot of uppercuts, right hands, left hands, whatever works. Frank Brown has been putting in the work tonight here at Chanel High School in Bedford, Ohio. King of the Ring Boxing Series, Ronnie Duncan and Wilkins Santiago. And once again, a nice combination by Brown. And Brown is putting in the work and making sure that the combinations come across. Once again, this fight is going to be stopped. Standing 8 count by the referee.
That's a right call.
Tommy Robinson is fatigued. Robinson has little left in the tank, but he comes straight out course at Brown. But Brown, of course, hits him with a left hook. He tries to move him backwards.
There he goes. He's got to get that southpaw stance.
He's got to get him from the southpaw stance. But once again, when you continue to throw punches like he has been throwing, I'm talking about Frank Brown. Frank Brown is trying to make somebody go down. He just ran out of time. It depends on who you like. And this fight is going to really come down to the second round. Because the first round, it was all about Robinson. Robinson looked like the better skilled boxer. He looked like the cuter fighter. He looked like he had more skill, was able to go ahead and, of course, make some moves to make the crowd go ooh and ah. But, of course, the real eye candy came in round number 2. And that's when we saw Frank Brown out of Cleveland, Ohio, out of the Scott Neal Boxing Club, come through in a kind of style that says, I am not going to be stopped. And he kept moving forward. What I didn't like is that he was moving forward without throwing the jab. However, in the third and final round, he started moving in with that jab and made all the difference in the world.
Figured it out. He knew he had to make the adjustments his corner was telling him to make. Started popping that jab in the third round. All the punches came together. He got that 8 count.
Wilkins, I've got to ask you this. Was it too little and too late?
I actually think he might have pulled the fight off.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard fight to determine.
If that 8 count wouldn't have happened, I believe it would have swung the other way. But I think that 8 count might have slightly given him the advantage.
We'll see exactly how our judges at ringside saw this fight. They gave us action that was simply outstanding. Both fighters getting in and putting in work. And that's what we like. We like when fighters put in work and do what they have to do in the ring, and that's exactly what Brown and Robinson did. They put in the action, and he did the work in the ring. Let's go to our ring announcer, Paul Schill, who's standing by as he's getting, of course, the tabulation of the scores from our judges, because this one was a very hard fight to score. I tell you what, Brown did his job. Robinson did his job. Robinson was so spectacular in that first round, but the second round was a round in which you saw Brown try to really throw it down. He came forward. He didn't come forward with the jab, but he was punching in bunches. And those punches and bunches may have led to a victory in that third and final round, but you got to give, of course, a lot of talent in that ring to Robinson, because Robinson went back to the southpaw stance, and once he did, it made it interesting. Let's go to our ring announcer, Paul Schill.
Boxing fans, your winner fights out of the red corner, Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson gets the work done. It was a very good fight. And maybe it was that last little bit that we saw in which Tommy Robinson says, you know what, I've been looking bad here in this third round, but I'm going to end this not the way I started. I'm going to end this the way I started the first round and the way I started the beginning of the second round. And it was a matter of who had more effective punches. Brown maybe waited till the last minute to turn it on, but he looked impressive.
Yeah, he was relying on his heavy shots instead of scoring those shots, accumulating the points, allowing the judges to dictate to fight off the points. And Robinson walked away with the victory, well deserved.
A victory of excitement, a victory of talent. It is the King of the Ring Boxing Series. It's an outdoor affair. Cookout, I say lights out. I say bombs. I say fireworks in the ring. I'm Ronnie Duncan along with Wilkins Santiago. We're on TV 20, and we do it right. We're TV 20 like nobody else. We are Cleveland. We'll be right back with much more action after this.
Got a quarter?
It's back to King of the Ring Boxing. Of course, we've got Eric Miller of the Rodriguez Boxing Club taking on Ron Simeon Ford. And Ron Simeon is one of those fighters who comes from a history of a great boxing family. His, of course, uncle, Desi Ford, great fighter. But we talked to Ron Simeon before the fight. And the person who talked to him, the very talented Alexis Hayward. Alexis?
Thanks, Ronnie. I'm here with Razinian Ford. Do you think fighting outside will give you a disadvantage today?
No, I do not think it will give me a disadvantage because I do a lot of outside work, running and sprints and stuff, so I'm prepared for whatever.
So by saying you're prepared, are you going to win this fight tonight?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see. Back to you, Ronnie.
Well, thanks a lot, Alexis. We appreciate that. And, of course, Ron Simeon Ford is a young man that we have seen before. Desi Ford, of course, bloodlines run thick. Lorenzo's in the corner. He has a lot, but when you talk about the Rodriguez boys, they can get some work done, too.
Oh, yeah, they get some work, man.
Eric Miller, of course, coming out, of course, the Rodriguez Boxing Club in Akron, Ohio, and I love whatever they bring. I'm talking about the Rodriguez Boxing Club. Every time they come to Cleveland, Ohio, they bring some talented fighters. Let's go up to our ring announcer, Paul Schill, who's ready for this 132-pound event between Ford and Miller.
Here we are, boxing fans. Our next bout of the evening is in the 132-pound division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He is represented by the Rodriguez Boxing Club. Please welcome Eric Miller. And his opponent fights out of the blue corner, representing the Common Ground, the boxing club from Alliance, Ohio, Razimian Ford.
There you have it. Now, what's interesting about this fight is that one guy weighed in 132 pounds, the other guy 140. So there's a weight disparity. And Ron Simeon Ford said, you know what, Ronnie, doesn't matter. I'll go ahead and fight at that weight, even though he is, of course, the bigger fighter. Ron Simeon Ford said he came in with one thing in mind, and that was the box. Let's see if he does that boxing here early in the first round. But then, of course, when we're talking about Eric Miller, let's see if he goes ahead and takes advantage of the fact that he's the bigger man. He's the bigger puncher. You know, in the pros, they wouldn't let something like this go. In the amateurs, you can. And Ron Simeon says, look, I'm not afraid. I know he's a bigger guy, but what I've got to do is earn my respect, and it's going to start with the jab. Let's see if that's exactly what's happening here in round number one. Ford, of course, in the blue, Miller in the red. Of course, nice counters that time by Ford. Ford has got to use his leverage. He's a longer fighter. He's lanky. He's long. He's got to keep him on the end of that jab and not allow this become an inside fight and fight from the outside. And he just got hit with a strong right hand that time by Miller. Miller hit it with a counter right. But Ford knows how to fight. And he fought off the ropes pretty well that time. He didn't crumble under pressure. Ford didn't crumble under pressure. Once again, it's Miller applying the pressure. Ford told me it'd be very easy as a pro for him to box at 126 pounds. And what he's got to learn how to do, and sometimes it reminds me of Tommy Hearns as an amateur, where taller fighters try to fight small. Where if they fight tall and use their leverage, chances are they will be much better.
Yeah, definitely.
And Ford continues to fight this fight not from a distance but on the inside. Look at him. He's right there. He's right there for Miller. Miller is more comfortable fighting from that distance.
Well, he's long. He's got the weight advantage over him, obviously.
Nice right hand that time in the left hand by Ford.
You want to create some space in between that reach to land the big shots. Ford should be inside.
Miller again, boxing from the outside. But you've got to be active. You've got to be active. You've got to work, and that's exactly what Ford is hearing from his corner. I can hear him on the side saying you've got to get that jab out. You've got to stick it. What advice would you give Ford right now?
Well, he's got to get inside. Disregard being that outside. You got to cut the arms off. Make him use his reach. Make him start using his angles. You're the shorter fighters, heavy hands. You want to get inside and create your shots.
That's the bell for the end of the round. What'd you like? Who'd you like? Was it all about what Miller was doing?
Oh, definitely. Utilizing his reach. That's the key. Small, short, compact fire like that, you want to use your reach, man. You want to set your shots up.
The sights and sounds of amateur boxing. The lights have come on. And it's starting to get a little nighttime out here.
Feels good now. Bet them fighters is loving it. That sun went down.
Eric Miller, 132 pounds, taking on Simeon Ford. Right, Simeon Ford. And this is round number 2 of a scheduled 3-round competition. Oh, nice lead left hand followed by right by Ford. Like a human buzzsaw, that's Miller.
Miller's trying to get inside. He's got to get inside. He's got to accumulate more points in there. Nice right hand.
That was a nice right hand that time by Miller, and it caught Ford coming in, and that's what I was suspicious of. Trying to fight on the inside with a guy who's strong on the inside. And he ran into a right hand, a strong right hand at that.
Jab to the body, that takes a lot out of you. Start slowing them legs down. Makes it easier to shut up that big shot he just set up.
Remember, you're talking about a naturally bigger man. Mm-hmm. And what would happen if it was a situation where Ford was fighting him at a legitimate 132-pound weight class? Miller wouldn't have, of course, the strength. Sure, it's courageous for, of course, Ford to fight a fight like this. But when you're fighting out of your weight class, you're fighting on someone who's stronger. And that will happen, of course, as a pro. You'll fight guys who are naturally stronger than you. It's how you make those adjustments. Eric Miller has been stronger, but he just got countered that time by left hand by Ford.
Ford's waiting too long. He's got to start working. You hear his corner screaming at him. They know that that shot he took got him down in a fight. Looks like he's wearing down a little bit now. Looks like Miller's trying to put.
Eric Miller's doing it. He's bringing the combination, and those combinations are big-time punches. They're coming in bunches from upstairs, downstairs. He has been active. He won round 1, and he's definitely winning round number 2.
Nice uppercut in there.
But maybe Ford is just too doggone tough for his own goodness. You know, sometimes you can be as tough as nails and it can work against you. And that's what Ford wants to do. He doesn't mind mixing it up. I mean, it's a good sign to see from a fighter. But when you're outmatched physically, the physicality of the fight is not on your side, maybe you need to make the proper adjustments. And that's something I'm not seeing in this fight.
That starts with the corner. That starts with your team. Be careful, he's getting caught with heavy shots.
And throwing an uppercut in the middle of the ring like that, you're leaving yourself wide open for an uppercut.
Too long to do
and a counter.
Like that. He's got to be inside when he's doing it. He's doing it from the outside. Starting to lean over now. Showing signs of tired. Nice
well, he made it into the 3rd round. We're going to see what happens because I tell you, one thing Ford has is energy.
Yep.
If you look back at what happened there in round number 2 is a counter right hand. And that counter right hand put Ford on the floor.
Timing is key, man. He set it right up. And
he ran right into it.
Yeah, he ran
I mean,
into it.
Any angle you look at it, he runs right into that right hand, and that caused a lot of problems. But what was impressive was the way in which he finished the round. He didn't finish the round like a man who had gotten knocked down in round number 2. Nice crowd on hand here at Chanel High School, home of the Firebirds. Chanel no longer in action, but guess what? Tonight they turned on the lights, they put the boxing ring outside, and it's a really, really nice day for boxing.
Nice day for the fighters.
Getting ready for the third and final round of this one, Eric Miller and Rizemian Ford. Golden Glove champ, 132-pounder. Find a young man who outweighs him by as much as 10 pounds. He's trying to hold his own. See, this is what I wanted Ford to do earlier. I'll jab the smaller man. I felt with lateral movement, with his length, that was something he could do with no problem. Okay, of course, the referee wanted Ford to have that mouthpiece. Time's back in. Akron, Ohio against Cleveland.
27 years of boxing, amateur and pro, never lost my mouthpiece, not once. Never.
You know what that was, right?
Huh?
You know what that was, right?
What's that?
You know how to bite down hard on it.
Yeah. I ain't trying to lose these pretty teeth either, Ron.
Once again, Eric Miller putting on the pressure on Ford. Ford in retreat action.
Oh, nice hook.
But a nice hook that time by Ford.
He's holding
What you got to give credit to is that Ford might be outweighed, but when it comes to just courage and confidence and grit, Ford has it.
There you go, right back. Let your hands float. Come on, man, work. Work, man. You gotta work with it. Work with it, man. Work with it.
Uppercut. Ooh, body shot.
These are some heavy shots right here by Ford and Miller. And Miller continues to bring them on. Heavy, thugging shots.
Those heavy shots take a lot out of you. I hear Miller's corner telling him to bend his knees, get low. They know how to set them power shots up. There it is.
Right back. Right back, right back. Right back. Come on, man.
He's reaching with that right hand. You can't reach. You just got to let it go. Straight down the middle, down the pipe.
He's a lone guy. He should be setting up that jab, get inside with that right hand.
Once again, another left hand. Right down the middle. And a right hand as well. By Eric Miller. Eric Miller in the red, Ford in the blue.
Get your knees down.
Nice shot.
Nice body shot that time by Ford. Ford with two hooks to the body. Ford is trying to finish strong. He's trying to outwork Miller. But when Miller wants to fight, he fights. He fights hard. Look at those heavy shots by Miller. And Ford tries to fight off the ropes. But it's Miller with that tenacious offense. And they both did some big work. One man went down. Man down, hands down. And that's exactly what happened there in round number 2. But it was a spirited third round. Rizemian Ford, Eric Miller. Miller out of Akron, Ohio, the Rodriguez Boxing Club. And anytime they bring a kid out of Rodriguez Boxing Club, you and I have both said, oh, we know they can fight.
Yeah, they bang. Them boys.
You know.
Long night for you fighting one of them boys out of Rodriguez.
You say, well, long night.
Long night.
Anytime you fighting somebody out of Rodriguez Boxing Club. And, of course, out of the Common Ground Boxing Club in Alliance, Ohio, is Rizemian Ford. Judges have a tough job, or do they? It looks like, to me, it's all about Eric Miller. However, you never can be too sure because you're talking about different angles. Different fighters do different things, different judges like different styles. And, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
That's the sweet science of it.
Outstanding action. Put your hands together for these two young athletes.
WBC title in February. Now it's time we got to check in and with our ring announcer Paul Chill, who is, of course, getting the scores that have been tabulated. We've got, of course, Ford. We've got Miller. Someone's going to win. You got to go back to that second round, and that second round was a tremendous knockdown that time. But he ran right into it. And I'm talking about Ryan Zemian Ford, but Eric Miller set him up.
Set it up. Yeah.
Set it up and set it up perfectly. Let's go to Paul and find out who is the winner. It might be pretty academic. It could be coming from the red corner. Paul?
Boxing fans, after 3 action-packed rounds, your winner. He fights out of the red corner, Eric Miller. Here to present the trophy.
Well, I told you it's pretty academic. Eric Miller in the red corner. The difference was he was a more active fighter. He did what he had to do, and he got it done. And that was the key.
He sat on his punches, set his shots up how he was supposed to. He got the job done like you said.
Eric Miller, your winner. But you got to give credit to Ryan Zemian Ford. He knew he was fighting at a disadvantage, but he wanted to work. And that work was the key.
Yeah, that's it. Look good in there. Just got to go back to the drawing board, put it together, get with your team, and just make the adjustments and come back stronger.
Coming up, we got William Sanders from the Squad Boxing Club out of Detroit, Michigan. He'll be taking on Amon Richardson out of the Cleveland Boxing Club. And that should be interesting.
Detroit and Cleveland.
Doing it one more time. We have had nothing but some really good fights here. And it's setting up a very good stage for both of these fighters to do what they have to do. And talking about Amon Richardson, well, the man is no longer just a myth. We have seen him in the ring. He comes to fight each and every time. There he is in a white, and he has on, of course, a camouflage. And now Alexis Haywood had an opportunity to talk with him before the fight and ask about his importance and how he looks at King of the Ring. Alexis?
Ronnie, I'm here with Armand Richards. Armand, how important is this tournament to you?
I mean, fighting in a big tournament like this is real important because it gives you a lot of exposure. You get to fight people from different places, different areas. Internet exposure. A lot of people look up. You see people watching you on TV, so it gives you a lot of exposure. It's a good experience for a lot of young fighters out there to get your name out there and get noticed.
Okay. How important is preparation for you?
Preparation is very important. You got to train right, be focused. And boxing is all about 100%. If you ain't 100%, then you might not win. You got to give your all.
Thank you so much, Armand. Back to you, Ronnie.
All right, we're back, and of course you can see Richardson is ready. You got Lorenzo in his corner. Get some work done. Let's go up to our ring announcer, the one and only Paul Chill.
Here are boxing fans. Our next bout of the evening is in the 152-pound division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He represents the Squad Boxing Club all the way from Detroit, Michigan, William Sanders. And his opponent fights out of the blue corner, represents the Empire Boxing Club. Please welcome Armand Richardson.
All right, you got Earl Jewell in there, and you got Amon Richardson taking on William Sanders. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the one thing we know, Richardson brings the heat. I mean, he wants to fight. You know, I got a phone call from some people who managed Lomachenko, and they were interested in this kid coming in to work with him.
Yeah, I was talking to him.
I mean, that tells you what kind of fighter he is. Look at that, nothing to lose. That's what he's got striped the cut in his belt, the camouflage trunks. Amon Richardson. Richardson can box, Richardson can punch. And he doesn't mind taking a disadvantage. He says, look, I know my opponent's taller than me. I've got to get inside. I've got to be smart. I've got to throw punches. And that's exactly what he's doing. Richardson trying to lead with the jab, taking on Willem Sanders.
See, he's trying to set his lead foot outside Southpaw's lead foot. Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. Stepping outside of him.
Well, he's had experience in doing so.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you have that type of experience, you know what to do. Look at that. He knows how to lead, of course, move inside.
Get calls from Lomachenko's camp. We got that type of experience.
Yes. Nice body shot that time by Richardson. Richardson staying on Sanders. He's pressing him for the action. Richardson taking his time, surveying the landscape. Sanders came down the pike that time. This is where the fight gets ugly, when you're fighting the southpaw. But you've got to jab your way on the inside. And once you're on the inside, you've got to take advantage of that body work. And that's what Richardson is trying to do.
Body shot, clean. Use the angle. See how he used the angle, got in there with that body shot?
Tell our audience what he's doing and how effective he's been doing it.
Oh, he's smart, man. He's using his footwork in there. He's using the proper angles to get inside. Stepping outside the southpaw's lead foot. That makes it easier for him to get inside and set his shots up. He's landing strong, powerful shots in there.
And that comes from hours in the gym, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. You gotta put that time in there. One thing I've learned that boxing ain't a sport that you can just put those gloves on and think you're just gonna have your way in there.
Can you explain to our audience why it's so important that as an amateur you see so many different styles and how it can make you a better and complete fighter?
Well, you learn. I mean, you get all types of styles from all over. One thing I've learned from mixing it up with different styles is, man, it makes me see things in a whole different perspective. It's not called the sweet science for nothing. It's very scientific. A lot of thinking in there. You got to be a fast thinker.
Richardson has been impressive in this round. I mean, there have been punches to the heart, the stomach, the chest. I mean, he has been all over Sanders.
Smart and quick thinker.
That's the bell for the end of round number one. Sanders does not lack confidence, and that's something that we have seen with him throughout this entire time.
Yeah, well, you ain't supposed to. Once you step foot in this ring, especially with a guy with the IQ as Armand Richardson, you can't hold nothing back. You got to go in there, let them all out, and just show these judges that you come into work. Doesn't matter where this guy's at. He's a man just like you. I'm trying to be the better man in there.
Has the quality been what you expected thus far?
What's that?
Has the quality of these fights been what you have expected thus far?
Oh, definitely. These guys are showing great ring IQ in there. You can tell these guys are ready to step it up to the next level.
Round two is coming up. Our fighters in position. Armand Richardson in the camouflage trunks with the white shirt. Of course, the young man with the black top and the blue. That, of course, is Willem Sanders out of Detroit, Michigan, out of the Squad Boxing Club.
Notice Williams is shooting the jab, but he's not fully extending it.
Yeah, but also what I like is that he's shooting the jab, but what Richardson is doing is that he's putting the jab down, touching it, and then he's countering that jab with a jab of his own. And there's how he landed that right hand right down the pike.
Sanders you got to throw that jab with authority. You want to make sure that when you land that jab, Richardson got something to think about stepping in there.
Right hook that time by Richardson. Richardson has Sanders in the corner, and he is fighting him. And look at those two body shots right down the middle, followed by a shot upstairs to the head. Richardson once again having Sanders in all kind of problems.
Nice left hook, nice hook, right hand.
We have seen the education of boxing happening for Richardson. And what Richardson has done is that we've seen how he's grown as a fighter. The way that he has been able to hook off the counter off the hook, continue to go ahead and see. He continues to find a way to get his hands on his opponent.
Nice uppercut by Williams inside. See how he shoots his angle once he comes in there with the overhand right? Steps out to the side of his lead foot. He can't do nothing. He sets his body up at the right place where Williams can't land nothing.
It's a great education in boxing for those who are at home and watching this. And what Amon Richardson has been doing. He's been first. You know, getting off first. Be it the jab, be it the right hand down the pipe. He's found a way to make a living in the ring and make himself the king of the ring in this 152-pound bout.
Get sharp.
There you go. Get up first. Don't back up. There you go.
Amon Richardson lost his mouthpiece. You know, you look at Richardson and you say to yourself, is he a really 52, 54-pounder, or is he a 47-pounder as a pro? I mean, you see he has very little body fat, if any, you know, and he can get a lot done. I mean, this is impressive. Anytime you see someone his size fighting someone 5'10", 5'11", and being this impressive with them.
I see 40 in his future.
You see 140 pounds in his future? I hear you.
World champ at 140.
Oh, he just got caught, though. He got caught for right hand that time himself. And that's the first time that Richardson, I've seen him in any kind of trouble since I've been watching him as an amateur.
One more, that's a point. You got to hold down on that mouthpiece.
Yeah, you got to hold down.
Already. 2 in a row.
Tell our audience once again what the amateur rules are and how we can lose a point.
You got that mouthpiece, bring out that mouth 3 times, and that's a point deductor. You don't want to do that. That's a round.
Come on now. You got 10 seconds. Go. Go for it. Sit him back
Power left hands now.
Sit him back the whole time.
Sanders found a little something that he could live with there in the second round, even though I don't give him the second round. I think majority of that second round went to Richardson. This third round could be very telling. And for the first time, we saw a little adversity there for Richardson, where he got hit with a counter right followed by a left, and he himself spit his mouthpiece out, but I think it was more the effect of the punch that put the mouthpiece out the second time.
Timing. Once again, timing, man. Proper timing landed that shot. Made his mouthpiece spit out. And that's just something he's gonna have to adjust now. And for coming into this third round, he's gotta show where he's really at.
Third and final round of this competition, 152 pounds. Williams Sanders out of Detroit, Michigan, taking on Amon Richardson. We heard from Amon earlier in our broadcast and our interview that he did with Alexis Haywood. And once again, you could tell he's coming in with some bigger punches. This has become a far more competitive fight here in round number 3. And Richardson has got to be extremely careful, not only as he comes in, because what he's doing is that he's coming in, he's getting hit with something. His momentum is putting him in trouble.
Sanders landed some heavy shots.
Yeah, but it's the mere fact that Richardson comes straight in. He's not coming in at an angle. And when you come straight in, it's so easy to hit you with a straight shot. Richardson needs to come again at those angles. He's coming straight ahead. His corner wants him to work that again, that free hand, and he is working it. He's staying active. That's what got Amon Richardson in a position that has him looking more like the winner of this fight. And once again, Sanders is starting to hold on again. Maybe fatigue has been the answer. Sanders looking for that 1-2, but Richardson just doesn't give him enough room to breathe, and that's been the key. Richardson being the buzzsaw. Richardson throwing punches underneath. And that's been the key. That's it right there. Where Richardson continues to not let Sanders get comfortable. And when Sanders isn't comfortable, he's not throwing punches. And Richardson is throwing punches and bunches, being active. That's what he's doing right there. A nice counter right hand, right over the top.
He's got to be careful. He's got to keep his hands up there.
He's got to be careful and make sure that Sanders isn't playing possum because it only takes one shot.
That's it.
Richardson taking a little breather right now. Can he afford to do it here in the third and final round? Sanders looking to go ahead and flex that jab. If he flexes that jab from the outside, both men are fatigued right now. Third and final round of this talented fight. Richardson in the camouflage trunks continues the counter, but will he continue to posture? Look at them, both posing in the ring right now, and no one is throwing punches.
Careful with that left and right hook.
Fighting from a distance. Who finishes the strongest will be the key to who wins the goal.
Right here, just 3 seconds left.
But he can't come in a straight line, and once again, it was that straight line, and that's why he got countered. He's got to move underneath. He's got to make sure that he is moving his head at all times, rocking from side to side. Nice right hand that time by Richardson. Richardson again with a right hand. Right hand to the body by Richardson as Sanders holds on. And that is the bell for round number 3. We had a bond burner there. When it came time to fight, Richardson said it's time to fight.
I see small room of improvement, but he looks sharp.
I'll tell you what, he still has that light switch. And when he wants to turn on that light switch, he can.
As a reminder,
and it's going to be very interesting to see how everything works out.
This bout, 15-minute intermission.
All right, this is our final fight of our telecast. And we're going to find out exactly who is the winner. Amon Richardson, a little tired, but we're going to see if all that hard work in the gym paid off. And if that hard work in the gym paid off, that means that he has been a big time winner. That's what it's all about. It's all putting in that work. This is the type of fight that the road work that you put in, the sparring that you put in, the sit-ups that you put in, every time, that cardio that you put in, this is the kind of fight where it all pays off.
All pays off, yep.
And when it pays off, it pays off.
Yep.
We're going to find out who is the big winner. It's just a matter of getting in that work. Paul Schill has, of course, the scores, and we'll determine who is the winner of this competition between William Sanders and Amon Richardson. Amon Richardson of the Empire Boxing Club in Cleveland, Ohio, and William Sanders from the Squad Boxing Club in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, boxing fans, here we go. First and foremost, please put your hands together for these two outstanding athletes. Boxing fans, after 3 action-packed rounds, your winner fights out of the blue corner, Amon Richardson.
So there you have it. Amon Richardson is your winner. When we come back, we'll have our closing comments of the King of the Ring Boxing right here at Chanel High School.
Hello, my name is Delise Wood. I'm the City of Cleveland Aquatic Manager. The Division of Recreation operates 19 indoor pools for year-round swimming and 22 outdoor community pools from the second week of June through the second week of August. Sustaining a safe environment for all our swimmers is imperative, so all lifeguards are American Red Cross certified and a ratio of 1 lifeguard per every 40 swimmers is maintained. To become a professional American Red Cross certified lifeguard, a successful applicant must be at least 15 years old, Be able to swim 300 yards, 6 laps, non-stop, using front crawl and breaststroke. Swim to the deepest end of the pool and retrieve a 10-pound object and return to starting point on his or her back. And tread water for 2 minutes using legs only. The lifeguard classes are 2 days per week for 6 weeks, where you will learn water skills, learn CPR, AED, and first aid, learn bloodborne pathogens, complete bookwork and homework, take 3 written tests including lifeguarding, CPR, AED, first aid, and bloodborne pathogens. Each applicant must pass a written test with an 80% or better. Each applicant will also complete a water skill test and a CPR, AED, first aid, bloodborne pathogens skills test. Cost of the class is $35, money order only. Pay rate starts at $10 hourly. Remember, to be a great lifeguard is to have confidence in your skills.
Once again, it was another exciting night of boxing, and when you talk about the King of the Ring boxing series, we saw some young men really get their thing on, but we saw that big battle between Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Detroit and Cleveland. But Eric Miller was a young man out of Detroit, Michigan, who came through with that right hand that we saw in his fight, and he knocks this guy down, Ron Zemian Ford, and we knew that was a telling tale of that fight.
Oh, definitely. He set that punch right up. A superb shot he caught him with. The timing plays key in everything in boxing, man. Like I said, he set the shot up and caught him with a nice heavy shot.
What about, of course, our main event? And, of course, that was Amon Richardson, a young man who's a buzzsaw. Every time you see Amon Richardson in the ring, he continues to impress, and he continues to impress with the mere fact that he punches and bunches, but he has that intestinal fortitude that he never quits.
Oh, definitely. That guy, he definitely has a bright future ahead of him. He uses his angles how he's supposed to. He sets his shots up, and he lands his shots at the right time.
All right, we've got more King of the Ring coming to you right here at TV 20. It's going to be Canada taking on the United States. It's the Star Spangled Battle, and we'll have more for you. So stick with TV 20, because we are Cleveland, and we do it right on the King of the Ring. For Wilkins Santiago, I'm Ronnie Duncan. We'll see you again, and keep that jab in front.